Educational Gilmore. So excited to have you at Seat at the Table. Just to provide some context, Seat at the Table is really a platform where people like you and I come here to talk about issues that are affecting the African American community and what differences we can make. And so, look, man, I'm honored. I followed your story. I see some things that are going on in your life and things you're doing, man. And look, I'm super geeked to kind of have you on set. But either way, let's get into it.
Yes.
So look, some folks don't know you. If you could just tell me a little bit more about, man, your upbringing, your story, kind of where you're from. Let's just start there as at least as a foundation.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me. Frank Educational Gilmore. So I was born and raised Jersey City, New Jersey. Most people would say, including myself, would say I took the long way home. I grew up, my father died, my mother was pregnant with me. My mother died when I was 12. Oh no, I just had turned 13. So I turned 13 on the 14th and she died, I think, 2 weeks later. So I'm someone who grew up in the foster care system, the DIFES system, juvenile justice system, and someone who endured a lot of hardships in life. Subsequently, I got to following the wrong group of individuals as a young kid and led me down pretty much a life of mischief, doing things that I shouldn't have been doing at a young age. So I had a rough upbringing in Jersey City. Never really paid any major importances to education and things like that. And it just was a kind of like free for all, fend for yourself, try to make it, and you do whatever necessary it is to try to make it.
Yeah. So I mean, you bring up there's a lot to unpack, and I want to kind of talk about it. Mm-hmm. So you go through the foster care system, you lose both your parents, and you talk about hanging out with the wrong crowd. Where did the shift happen? Like when did you wake up? Like what happened?
Well, the shift essentially happened when my oldest daughter, who's 17 now, when she was born. I was actually incarcerated when she was born, and I had to have that heart-to-heart conversation with myself. And I only had one promise as a kid, right? I didn't never really want a fancy car, fancy house, the fancy family. All I essentially had, the only promise I made to myself is that I wouldn't do to my kids what my dad did to me, and that was essentially not be there. My uncle killed my father, like I said before I was born, and growing up without a father. And the crazy thing about that, it's kind of twofold. So growing up without a father was extremely hard, but I didn't really understand the magnitude of what that father meant until I had my children. Because growing up, like none of my friends had fathers too, so it was almost like it was normal.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the shift for me, though, being away from my daughter, not being able to do the necessary things that a child needs their father to do. So that was the shift for me. I said, I got to get myself together.
So you talked about a lot of your friends, or it wasn't uncommon for folks not to have a father.
Yes.
Did a lot of people without fathers make those same mistakes, though, where they had to end up incarcerated, right? Because some people make the argument, yeah, at the end of the day, you have to make a decision. So if you could talk to me, the impact of not having a father, right? Why did it lead you to some of the mistakes you've made, right? Because I think there's other folks who are watching this who don't have a father either, and they're contemplating. So if you could just talk about that a little bit.
I mean, I would make the argument that a kid really needs, you need your dad around for several reasons. One, to teach you, especially males, but females too, but for the sake of this conversation, we'll just speak specifically with respect to males. And it comes a time where we're in a gray area, right? Should we do this or should we do that? And if we don't have no guidance in that decision-making process, sometimes it can be detrimental. And then when you take into consideration the lack of resources in certain communities, right? So I'm not saying you can't make it without a father. I'm just saying that it's harder.
Yeah.
And then when you don't have the necessary resources, then it makes it even harder. Right? So a lot of times, especially, black and brown, you've grown up in inner cities in America, there's a lot of peer pressure, especially at this juncture with social media, the way it's booming, the way it is now, the instantaneous access to what a bunch of youth are doing all around the country, man, it's the peer pressure is at an all-time high, right? And peer pressure is not always me telling you, hey, you better do this or something is going to happen. No, peer pressure is doing what's socially accepted, even if it go against your core beliefs or how you feel, but you do it because this is what the rest of society is doing, or at least the society in which you visualize and which you are a part of.
Yeah.
So that's why, I mean, it's extremely important for the dad to be there to help you navigate the course of life. Essentially, your dad is your future, right? He know the nuances and the changes and behaviors and all type of, you know, sexual activities young men go through and things like that. So you need that male figure there, preferably your father, to help you navigate the waters of life.
Yeah, I agree. And for someone who I grew up with my dad, how important it was. Like you're right, he was my North Star. Exactly. I always wanted to make dad proud, right? And so when you don't have that person there, it's like a vacuum. And so now who are you trying to make proud?
You have to fill that void.
Correct.
It's human instinct, it's human nature. We all look up to someone.
Correct.
Right? It's human instinct, it's human nature to look up to someone. And if you don't have your dad or a positive male role model, and you're constantly walking by the brothers on a corner, and he's like, oh wow, they always got new sneakers every day. Or that brother is buying you sandwich after sandwich every time you're hungry. So he's like, this guy's all right.
Yeah.
You're not really understanding the exact nature of what's going on. You just know that this brother is buying you food. This brother is constantly showing that affection that we all need as humans.
Correct.
Right? And I just know that at one point it was a void in my life.
Yeah.
And I like how he's treating me. I like what's going on.
Correct.
So I look up to this guy. We all look up to people in life.
Yeah. So I want to go back to, you know, how you said it was when you got it was your daughter, right?
Yes, when I had my daughter.
That's when you kind of woke up. Tell me how you as a father has been shaped now, given your experience. Like, how do you now relate with your daughter? Like, I would love to kind of hear your experience in terms of like what are your guiding principles of raising your kids, just given everything that you.
Yeah, well, actually, all my kids, I have them learning. We call them core principles of living, right? And I don't know, first we started with 7, then it was 10, and my kids like, Dad, you keep just come up with a new core principle, what are you doing? So my kids, they all study the core principles, and we talk about what those core principles are, and you know, just some of those core principles is, it's never let anyone outwork you, right? Yeah. We'll live with the results if someone is just better than you at whatever it is, right? So as long as though you gave your all, and you put all of your commitment into your capabilities, then we'll live with the results. But you're not going to outwork me.
Correct.
Right? You have to always work hard. So one can even make the argument that my rough upbringing have made me a great father, right? I don't ever want my child to fill that void in that life. And subsequently, and it's not even by design, it's more so, I would argue that it's by human nature. So my oldest daughter, the younger kids always say, like, you treat her better. You know, you give her whatever she wants. Or when you give us money, you always give her more. And part of me is trying to make up for lost time.
Of course.
Right? I wasn't there for the first 3-4 years of her life. And part of me is still trying to chase those 4 years, trying to make up for those 4 years. So I do, give her a little more and things like that. But they have drastically shaped the way I go about teaching my kids, the way I go about being a father, and then just the way I go about being a father for other young black and brown men in the community, because I know the disadvantage they're at if their father is absent. So this is why I do that work that I do. I'm a youth mentor, a youth advocate, right? Some people's like, yo, how do you get up every day with the energy and the intensity you get up with to do what you do? It's easy. I don't want a child to feel how I felt when I was growing up. I contemplated suicide several times.
Wow.
right? So that's why I do the work.
So shed some light, because you do amazing stuff in Jersey
Yes,
City.
yes, yes.
So talk to me about some of the work that you're doing in Jersey City.
Well, right now, I have my own community center, Educational Gilmore's Community Learning Center. And within that community center, we have one-on-one mentoring, we have group mentoring, we have extracurricular activities, we have tutoring for kids who may be behind in a particular subject. And it's just like a chill center for kids to come there just so they can have a safe haven or a safe place to be at. And for the most part, a lot of times, most kids will come there and just tell me how much their parents are getting on their nerves and things like that. But it's something that shout out to my wife, something that I just went ahead and did because I was in these meetings, right? And everyone was talking about the importances of us needing more resources and things for our kids. And I was like, well, we got to open up a community center. And it's like, that's a great idea, Mr. Gilmore, but we don't have the financial capacity to do it. We had to wait until state funding is available, or wait until you form a nonprofit, or wait. Just so many different excuses in my eyes. So I said, you know what? I'm just gonna take it and I'm gonna do it my damn self. So what I did was, me and my wife were saving to buy a house. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna hold off on the house.
Wow.
And I'm gonna take my money and I'm gonna, go ahead and put it in a community center. So one day, of course, when I did that, I really didn't have that much money to, pay for the upkeep and the maintenance. So we did it ourselves. So one day, me and my wife were in there painting. And she's like, oh, that's good. The city finally acknowledged the work you do, and they finally gave you a spot. I was like, I said, no, they ain't give us no spot. Like, they ain't give me nothing. So she's like, what? So how you get there? Just gave it to you? I said, no, what happened was I kind of took the money we had for the house and, opened up the community center. At first, she was just like livid because she was like, what about me? What about my kids? What about us? And things like that. But after that, when she really understood the vision on where I was trying to go and what I was trying to do, and fortunately, this is just how God worked and how the universe worked. The house that I was going to get, it's still on the market, so evidently it had more problems than what they said it would have. And then subsequently, I got a better house and a better location. And for that community center, it just have heightened the work that I do in the community. I was able to be acknowledged on a national stage, Jersey Journal, Star Ledger, NJ.com, Ellen DeGeneres National TV, just for my work and my commitment to my community. So it was great, man. It was great for me to open up that and to work with kids. So, like, that's my passion, right? That's what I want to do. Exactly. Yeah. Right? And I have this saying, right? Sometimes in life, we have to put our purpose before our passion.
Yeah. Say it again. Yep.
Right? Sometimes we have to put our purpose before our passion. So this is what's have led me into the life of politics.
Correct.
Right? My passion is to be an advocate and help youth. My purpose is to advocate for all of the people.
Yeah.
So it's have leading me to the political arena.
Yeah.
So I'll be the next Ward F City Councilman come November 2nd, 2021. And I'm just ready to roll my sleeves up and just get to work for the people.
So a couple things, man. First off, I'm extremely impressed by the work you're doing. Here's why. You're right. A lot of people get caught up in analysis and why they can't do it and excuses. And sometimes, or we're looking or waiting for someone to come save us. Sometimes you got to go make the sacrifice. Yes. And you got to go kind of make it to get it done. And so I think what you did is just, first off, is just dope, right? So just call it what it is. The second piece is you built an educational center for the people, and now you're getting in the realm of politics. How difficult is it? Because look, everyone knows politics could be a dirty game, especially in Jersey City, where we have a history.
Yes,
It's actually classes on how to do in Jersey City politics. How do you still keep sight? And look, people go nervous. There are a lot of good people who go there with good intentions. When they get caught up in the whole, process, they lose sight of it. How do you still keep that same fire for the people and not get dirty into politics? Because I know it can get dirty.
See, the thing is, it's not about me, right? I always say to everyone, my story means nothing to me if I can't use it to help someone else out.
Correct.
And that's the same concept with politics, right? My position as council person means nothing to me if I can't help the people. Where I think where politicians get themselves in trouble is they start to make deals that's beneficial to them and not necessarily beneficial to the whole.
Yeah.
I have taken the pledge to essentially say that I'm not willing to put self-interest in front of the interests of the whole. So case in point, I had an opportunity to be acknowledged as the humanitarian of the world, right? It's this competition with a bunch of humanitarians that's doing all great deeds across the world. And they were gonna run it on NBC. I forget exactly where they were gonna run it at. And one of the stipulations or clauses was, or the clause was in it, was saying, well, you must not be a candidate for political office. So I turned it down. And when I told some people, they was like, yo, why would you turn that down? It's a chance to win X amount of money. It's national exposure. And that's why I said, like, I don't just preach and talk, right?
Yeah.
I practice what I speak. I have motivational Mondays, right? And I inspire people. So one of my speeches or one of my core beliefs are you must be willing to put self-advancement on hold for the advancement of the whole.
Yeah.
Right? So those are some of the things that I plan on doing. And again, you can't get caught up in the I and me and how far could I advance.
Yeah.
That's how politicians get themselves in trouble. They make deals that essentially benefit them and only them, and subsequently the community at large suffer because of that bad deal.
Well, I can tell you, look, Ward F needs this type of leadership. It's one of those forgotten areas, in my opinion, right, when we look at the city. I mean, look, I know we could talk all day. There's one critical question I want to ask Educational Gilmore. When you look at the ward that you want to support, what can you actually do to help that community, one? And then the follow-up to that is, for the individuals, both young and old, who are tired of sitting on the sidelines, they want to make a difference. What would you advise and counsel them?
Wow, that's a great question. So let's deal with the first person. The first question. What can I offer the community of Ward F, and why can I offer that? If you know anything about all of the national incidents going on with respect to police brutality and police and community engagement, and it's just broken, right? It's all-time high, just not working, right? I'm someone who's going to come in and say, hey, listen, if the overall majority of us want to live in a safer place, right? So the conversation needs to be had with the police and with the community, since we all have a common goal. There's no other person running in this race that can bring community and police together. I have a relationship with the community. I have a relationship with individuals in the police department who want to see change, who want to see Jersey City better. And subsequently, how can I tell the brothers on the sidelines to participate?
Yeah.
By default, because of the body of work and because of the things I've done, and now I'm entering this arena, it's like he's credible, and if he say let's try it, then we're gonna try it. Why? Because he's one of us.
Yeah.
He's come from where we came from. So that's why it's a unique opportunity to what we call bridge the gap, right? Because just like the relationship between community and police is not where it needs to be in Ward F predominantly, there's also an influx of new neighbors coming in, right? So you have to bridge that gap as well. There's the old Jersey Cityans, and then there's the new ones who's coming in, because Ward F is extremely diverse, right? Ward F is not the Ward F that we grew up in.
Correct.
And that's fine. Things change. So we're going to need someone that can bridge those gaps. And again, there's just no other candidate in the field that can bridge those gaps other than me. So we welcome the challenge. You know, the work is cut out. This is what I signed up for. It's not about making excuses and pointing out problems, it's about coming up with solutions to these problems we have in our community. And we're up to the task, and we'll be just fine.
Yeah. Well, let me say this. I grew up in Jersey City. My church is in Ward F. I spent my entire service life in Jersey City supporting that ward. So look, I'm excited that you're running. I wish you the best of luck.
Yes, sir.
I think I'm at a space where I just want to see a community lifted. You know what I mean? I just want to see us be better, do better. So look, Educational Gilmore, I don't know if there's any last words you want to tell the folks in the community, or any last words you want to tell to young African-American men. Let this be this opportunity, and we can just wrap this conversation.
Yes. So I just would like to say, again, thank you for having me. And to anyone, you can be black, white, purple, orange, or green. You just know, and you have to know and understand that no one's going to believe in you like you're going to believe in you. Yeah. And the thing about life is not necessarily where you start at. It's where you finish at, right? You take Jordan Career, for instance, right? He almost never made the playoffs, right? But when he started winning championships, no one else won championships. It's true. So it's not where you start, it's where you finish. And as I say all the time, be great on purpose, people.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Educational Gilmore, again, thank you so much for being on this episode. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, young fella.
You got it. All right, awesome. Thank you.